There are rules that veteran riders follow instinctively but rarely explain because they assume everyone already knows them. Well, guess what? They don't. Forget the loud pipes save lives advice and all the feel-good safety tips that don't actually work. Today I'm breaking down 10 survival tactics that could mean the difference between getting home safe or not at all. And these aren't just tips, they're the real-world knowledge that separates riders who survive from those who don't. Drop a comment with your closest call. We've all got one. The first rule that separates survivors from statistics is understanding lane positioning psychology. You're cruising down the highway in the center of your lane when a merging driver looks right at you, he makes eye contact, then cuts directly into your space like you don't exist. And here's what nobody tells you about lane positioning. It's not about where you feel comfortable. It's about where drivers expect to see vehicles. The human brain is programmed to scan for car-sized objects in predictable spots. When you ride in the center of the lane, you're sitting in the tire tracks, where drivers are conditioned to look for headlights and bumpers. You become invisible, not because drivers literally can't see you, but because their brain doesn't register you as a threat worth processing. You see, every lane has 3 positions: left tire track, center, and right tire track. The center is where oil drips, coolant leaks, and debris collects. It's also where you disappear from driver psychology. The left tire track puts you in mirrors sooner and gives you a view around traffic. The right tire track makes you visible to merging vehicles and gives you an escape route to the shoulder. But here's the advanced technique. You don't pick one position and stick with it. You shift every couple of seconds based on what's happening around you. This constant movement, it keeps you in driver's peripheral vision because motion catches attention better than static objects. The secret that veteran riders know is positioning yourself where a car's headlight would be. Drivers are conditioned to look for headlights in specific spots, and your bike needs to occupy that same space in their visual field. Now this works because you're matching their search image, the mental template their brain already uses to identify threats. And there's one more trick riders use at night. When you understand that drivers look for what they expect to see, not what's actually there, lane positioning becomes a psychological game. But even perfect positioning won't save you if your bike fails when you need it most. Now, the difference between getting home and calling for a tow truck comes down to one simple habit that only takes 60 seconds at every fuel stop. Thing is, most mechanical failures don't just happen, they announce themselves, through small changes that build up over time. The chain gets a little looser, the oil level drops gradually, brake cables stretch slowly. So these problems send signals long before they leave you stranded, but most riders miss them completely. The gas station glance rule catches problems before they strand you. While your tank fills, look around for fresh oil drips under the bike. Take a look at tire side walls, inspect tread for wear or cracks. Visually check chain condition for dryness or sagging. Glance at brake lines near calipers for wetness. Then wiggle levers to feel for sponginess. This sequence hits the 5 things that kill bikes on the road. Chain tension in particular matters more than most riders think. Sit on the bike when you check it, because the slack you measure on the side stand is completely different from what happens when your weight compresses the suspension. Most bikes need 20 to 30 millimeters of slack when loaded, and that number is not negotiable. Oil level checks trip up experienced riders even because they do them wrong. Check when the engine is cold before you ride. Hot oil expands gives you a false reading that can lead to overfilling or running low without even knowing it. Tire pressure changes with temperature, so check it cold too. What looks good after a ride might be dangerously low when you start up tomorrow morning. Now this habit is so simple you can't argue with the practice. A 60-second inspection at every fuel stop has saved riders thousands in repairs and prevented countless roadside disasters. The bike talks to you constantly using these small changes. Learning to spot the early warning signs separates riders who make it home from those who call for help. But even, a perfectly maintained bike ain't gonna protect you from the biggest threat on the road: other drivers who simply don't know you exist. This reality forces you to adopt what experienced riders like to call the "look twice applies to you" mindset. Meet Jake, rolling down the interstate in his neon yellow jacket with aftermarket pipes that sound like a freight train. He's convinced every driver sees and hears him coming from a mile away. Then a sedan merges directly into his lane without warning, forcing him to slam on the brakes and swerve hard right. The driver never even knew he was there. Doesn't matter that he had the bright gear and thundering exhaust. So hear me out. Here's the problem with the loud pipe save lives mentality. It creates dangerous overconfidence. Wind noise inside modern cars drowns out most exhaust notes. And your pipes, yeah, sure, they might wake up the neighborhood at 6 a.m., but they won't alert that texting driver who's about to change lanes into your space. The invisibility mindset flips this thinking totally, completely. Instead of trusting that drivers see you, you assume they don't. This approach makes you safer because you prepare for the worst-case scenario every single time. At intersections, invisible riders don't trust green lights. They slow down, scan for cars that might run the red, and position themselves to escape if someone blows through. That green light gives you legal right-of-way, but it won't protect you from a distracted driver. Highway merging becomes a chess game when you expect cars to change lanes without checking mirrors or signaling. Following distance becomes critical when you can't count on drivers making room for you. Invisible riders need more space because they expect cars to brake suddenly, change lanes without warning, or make unpredictable moves. The data backs this up. Riders who assume they're invisible have fewer accidents than those who trust their visibility. When you expect to be unseen, you position yourself defensively, you scan constantly, and you never rely on other drivers to keep you safe. The best riders don't waste energy trying to be seen. They position themselves to survive being unseen because that's just the reality of riding in traffic. But surviving traffic is only half the battle when your bike's mechanical systems can fail without warning. Your transmission is one of those expensive parts that fails slowly and then all at once. Tom's been riding for 15 years, shifting the same way since day one, not realizing his casual technique is slowly grinding away parts that cost serious money to replace. Most riders learn to shift, but never learn the technique that actually protects their gearbox. They get the bike moving and figure, hey, that's good enough. But there's a real difference between shifting and shifting right. And that difference shows up in your wallet years later, for sure. Here's a veteran tip that saves transmissions. Apply slight pressure to the shift lever before you pull the clutch so the gear change happens instantly when you disengage. This eliminates the grinding and searching that happens when you're lazy with your shifts. The gear slides into place immediately instead of forcing its way through grinding metal. Slamming through gears or being lazy with the clutch creates expensive problems down the road. Every time you force a gear change or let the clutch slip unnecessarily, you're wearing down parts that cost serious money to replace. Transmission work isn't cheap. Most of it comes from bad shifting habits. Rev matching on downshifts prevents transmission shock and rear wheel lockup. Match your engine speed to your wheel speed before you let the clutch out. This keeps the rear wheel from suddenly slowing down and potentially sliding out from under you. Finding the sweet spot in your clutch lever travel makes shift smoother and it extends clutch life. You don't need to pull the lever all the way to the bar every time. Learn where your clutch actually disengages and use just enough pull to make the shift clean. And in emergencies, you can shift without the clutch when done right. It takes precise timing and coordination, but you can do it. Match your revs, apply light pressure to the shifter, and back off the throttle slightly. The gear will slip into place without grinding. Smooth shifting isn't about comfort, it's about making your bike last and keeping repair costs down. But even perfect shifting technique won't help if you can't control your bike when it matters most. That control becomes critical when you need to read what other drivers are about to do before they do it. Now here's some community wisdom that veteran riders swear by. Though, disclaimer, it's not backed by official research. Your parking lot skills predict your road survival. Marcus tears up the interstate at 75 miles per hour, confident and smooth through every curve, but watch him try to navigate a tight parking spot. Suddenly he's wobbling like a beginner, feet down, struggling to make a simple turn. That embarrassing moment reveals a dangerous skill gap that could kill him when it matters most. If you can't handle your bike at 5 miles per hour, 50 mph won't save you when things go sideways. Low speed control isn't just about looking smooth in parking lots. It's the foundation that every other riding skill builds on. When you lose control at highway speeds, you need those same balance and coordination skills to save your life. The figure 8 test exposes pretty much everything wrong with your riding in about 30 seconds. This is such a simple test, but it reveals problems with throttle control, clutch modulation, and body positioning. And that stuff becomes deadly at speed. Jerky throttle inputs that got you wobbling at 5 miles per hour will throw you off the bike. Jerky throttle inputs that make you wobble at 5 miles per hour will throw you off the bike at 50 miles per hour. Practicing slow speed maneuvers teaches you to lean the bike while keeping your body upright, which is crucial for emergency maneuvering. Crucial. Most riders lean with their bike instead of counterleaning, and that wrong technique shows up when they need to swerve around debris or avoid a car. Riders who master parking lot skills rarely have accidents because they've trained their reflexes for every situation. Their bikes respond exactly how they expect because they've developed the coordination to make it happen. Spending 20 minutes in a parking lot once a month does more for your safety than any advanced riding course. You're building the fundamental skills that everything else depends on, and you can't fake your way through the basics. But even perfect bike control won't help you if you can't predict what drivers are about to do before they signal their intentions. You see, cars communicate their intentions through subtle movements that most riders miss out on completely. Sarah's cruising through downtown traffic when she spots a Honda drifting slightly left in its lane, about 50 feet ahead. Most riders would ignore this tiny movement, but Sarah recognizes the tell immediately. She creates more space, moves to the right side of her lane, just as the Honda suddenly jerks across 3 lanes of traffic without signaling. What looked like random car movement was actually a distracted driver about to do something dangerous. These kind of micro signals happen seconds before drivers make their moves, which gives you a crucial window to react, if you know what to watch for. Like a car drifting within its lane indicates a distracted driver who's about to do something unpredictable. This lazy movement inside the lane boundaries, that means the driver isn't paying full attention to their driving, which makes them dangerous and erratic. Now watch the front wheels, because you can see them start to turn before the car actually moves. This gives you about a 2 to 3 second advantage you can use to anticipate lane changes or turns that haven't even been signaled yet. The wheels don't lie, they show you exactly where the car is going before it gets there. Brake lights that flutter on and off reveal an indecisive driver who might suddenly change lanes or speed up. This uncertainty makes them dangerous because they're not committed to any specific action yet, and their hesitation often leads to sudden, unpredictable, last-second movements. The head check. That's the most reliable indicator of all. When you see a driver's head move to check their blind spot, they're about to change lanes, whether they signal or not. That head movement is the final step before they make their move. Reading these microsignals gives you a 2 to 3 second advantage, and that can mean the difference between life and death. But individual survival skills only take you so far when you're riding with others who might not understand the unspoken rules that keep everyone safe. Group dynamics change everything about how you ride. Picture 12 riders heading out for what should be a perfect mountain run. In the first 10 minutes, chaos erupts. A newcomer decides to pass the lead rider to show his skills. And you got another rider who can't keep up with the pace, and someone else just keeps weaving between positions like he's riding solo. What started as an organized group turns into a dangerous mess of scattered bikes and frustrated riders. Group rides have an invisible hierarchy that keeps everyone safe, but newcomers often miss the signals completely. They see a bunch of riders and think it's uncoordinated chaos, but experienced groups operate like a well-oiled machine. You got specific roles and responsibilities that prevent accidents. The lead rider's job goes way beyond just knowing the route. They set the pace for the entire group, they spot hazards before anyone else sees them, and they make split-second decisions that affect 12 other riders. They're not just the fastest rider up front, they're managing the safety and flow of the entire pack. When the lead rider slows down or changes lanes, they're communicating information that ripples through the group. The sweep rider stays behind the slowest rider, handles any breakdowns or mechanical issues, and maintains communication with the lead. They're the safety net that makes sure nobody gets left behind or stranded. When problems happen, the sweep rider deals with them, while the rest of the group stays together. Even the middle positions aren't random placement. Experienced riders buffer the newer ones, creating zones of safety. That way less skilled riders can learn without endangering the group. And this arrangement lets everyone ride at their own skill level while staying protected. Communication flows through the group with hand signals and positioning changes. Information about hazards, turns, and pace changes get passed rider to rider until everyone knows what's happening. And definitely pre-agree on route, pace, and emergency plan before even leaving the parking lot. The best group rides look effortless because everyone knows their roles and respects the system that keeps them all upright. But individual skills matter just as much as group coordination, especially when split-second reactions determine whether you make it home. When those split-second reactions matter most, your braking technique determines whether you walk away or get carried away. So Dave's been riding for 10 years and figures he knows how to stop his bike fast. He practices emergency braking in his driveway, grabbing a handful of front brake and coming to a quick stop. Feels confident, looks smooth, hey, problem solved. Then a car runs a red light right in front of him at 45 miles per hour. Dave discovers his technique would have put him on the pavement or through the car's windshield. Most riders practice emergency braking wrong because they brake when they're ready, not when they're surprised. You see the hazard coming, you prepare mentally, you apply the brakes smoothly, but you need muscle memory reflexes built from regular, unexpected drills that train your body to react correctly when your brain is still processing what's happening. Progressive pressure with brief releases prevents wheel lockup better than just grabbing a handful of brake. Apply pressure progressively, building up to maximum braking force just before the point of lockup. When you feel the wheel start to slide, release pressure slightly to regain traction, then reapply. This keeps you in control while maximizing stopping power, all right? Body positioning during emergency braking affects your stopping distance more than most riders realize. Slide back in the seat to transfer weight forward and maximize braking force. This technique can cut several feet off of your stopping distance and keeps you stable during the intense forces of hard braking. And oh man, the rear brake in emergencies trips up even experienced riders. Too much rear brake locks the wheel, and that makes you crash. Too little wastes stopping power you might desperately need. The front brake does most of the work, but the rear brake adds valuable stopping force, when used correctly. ABS changes emergency braking technique, but it doesn't eliminate the need for proper form. The system prevents lockup, but you still need to apply maximum pressure correctly to get the most stopping power. Emergency braking is a perishable skill, so you got to practice it regularly in unexpected situations and make sure you build and maintain the reflexes that save lives. But even perfect braking technique won't help if you're following too close to use it effectively. Distance management becomes pretty critical when you realize that car-based safety rules don't account for motorcycle physics. Rick's been riding for 8 years, always follows the 3-second rule he learned in driver's ed. Count to 3 behind the car ahead, and you're golden. But when that SUV in front of him slams on the brakes at 55 miles per hour, Rick discovers that car rules don't work for motorcycles. his following distance that felt safe, yeah, suddenly it's looking dangerously inadequate, okay? The 3-second rule was designed for cars and fails catastrophically for motorcycles in real-world conditions. Cars have 4 contact patches with the road, they got crumple zones and airbags. Motorcycles have 2 wheels, no protection, completely different physics. What works for a 3,000-pound cage doesn't translate to a 400-pound bike. Motorcycles have shorter stopping distances than cars under ideal conditions, but they need longer reaction time due to managing multiple controls. You're managing throttle, front brake, rear brake, clutch, and balance all at once. Cars just hit one pedal. This complexity means that you need more time to process and react to sudden changes. Factors like wind, road surface, and bike weight affect your following distance in ways car drivers never consider. Strong winds, they can destabilize your bike and increase stopping distances. Gravel, wet pavement, or oil slicks reduce tire grip dramatically, which often lengthens stopping time beyond what perfect conditions would suggest. Heavy touring bikes need more distance than lightweight sport bikes. You need enough space to change lanes, not just stop, because motorcycles are more maneuverable than cars. So always leave yourself an escape route, because that extra space gives you options to avoid hazards instead of just hoping you can stop in time. Traffic density requires more space, not less, because you have fewer options when you're surrounded by vehicles. Heavy traffic means more potential hazards and fewer escape routes, so you need bigger safety margins. Staggered following lets you position yourself to see around the vehicle ahead while maintaining safe distance, and this gives you a better view of potential hazards and more time to react. So yes, smart riders use time and space as tools, not just safety margins. The extra room, it gives you options that could save your life when things go wrong. But distance management is only part of the equation, when conditions can change faster than any app can predict. Reading weather conditions, it requires skills that no app can teach you. So Carl checks his weather app Saturday morning, sees partly cloudy skies with a 20% chance of rain. Perfect riding weather, he thinks, and he heads out for his usual mountain loop. 3 hours later, he's struggling through conditions that weren't on any forecast, discovering that pavement dew had formed in shaded areas after sunrise, creating slick spots the app never predicted, which it often won't. Weather apps don't tell you the real story because they miss the localized hazards that destroy motorcycles. They can't predict where oil's gonna rise to the surface after light rain, or where morning dew will create slick spots on shaded corners. These conditions develop and disappear in windows that weather services never track. They don't get down to details that small. The thermal window concept explains why experienced riders hit the road 2 to 3 hours after sunrise. And that's because during this period, road temperatures and air temperatures create perfect conditions. The pavement's warming up, burning off dew and condensation, and the air is stable and clear at the same time. This timing gives you the best tire grip and visibility combination of the entire day. Reading cloud formations and wind patterns, now that lets you predict weather changes hours before they show up on radar, with dark, fast-moving clouds and shifting wind directions indicating to you temperature and humidity changes that are going to affect the road conditions. Dangerous transition periods catch riders off guard constantly, like after rain stops, oil and debris rise to create a slippery film that big time dramatically reduces tire grip. When temperatures drop to the dew point, condensation forms on the surface of the road, making everything slick without warning. Advanced riders read road surface conditions proactively. You gotta be spotting black ice, oil slicks, and water accumulation before hitting them. Now, black ice is nearly invisible, but it causes immediate loss of control. Oil slicks shine differently than wet pavement. Water accumulation creates hydroplaning risks that make steering and braking sometimes useless. Seasonal timing requires completely different strategies. So spring and fall bring unpredictable weather patterns with rapid temperature changes. Now, summer creates extreme heat, and that affects tire performance and increases afternoon thunderstorm risks. Understanding how weather interacts with roads, traffic, and motorcycle physics creates the foundation for every other survival skill you need on the road. These survival strategies separate riders who make it home from those who become statistics. The difference between real riders and weekend warriors, it isn't the bike they ride or the gear they wear, it's knowing these unwritten rules that keep you alive when everything goes wrong. Pick one rule from today, seriously, and practice it this week. Knowledge without action is just entertainment, and entertainment doesn't save your life when that car runs the red light or that oil slick appears in your line. Drop a comment, tell me which rule you'll test first. I want to know what resonates with riders who actually get it. If I can leave you with anything right now, it's remember the invisibility mindset, because assuming you're unseen is what keeps you breathing when drivers prove they can't see past their own hood. I'm telling you, these aren't feel-good safety tips. They're the real-world knowledge that separates survivors from statistics.